Hello again. My name is Ted Meyerson. I'm a volunteer with AARP Maryland. Today we're talking about a critical issue, elder financial fraud and exploitation. We've got two experts with us. Lynn McCamie, who's the Ombudsman Manager at the Baltimore County Department of Aging, and Bill Peyser, a volunteer with the Montgomery County Police Department. Before we dive in, Bill, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. Thanks, Ted. My name is Bill Peyser. I'm a retired CPA and finance professional. I now volunteer in the Keeping Seniors Safe program within the Montgomery County Police Department. Along with about two other colleagues, we go out into the community to senior living facilities, neighborhood associations, religious organizations, and we make presentations to try to help seniors avoid becoming victims to scams and frauds. I give about a 45-minute presentation. I usually bring along with me between 1 and 3 scam survivors who also share their stories. And I can tell you they're the stars of the show, because at that point, the audience really realizes that a scam can happen to anyone.
Lynn, your turn.
Hi, good morning. I'm Lynn McCamie. I'm with the Baltimore County Ombudsman's Program, and we provide advocacy for residents who live in long-term care settings, such as nursing homes, assisted livings, or retirement communities that have assisted livings or nursing home portions on site. And our advocacy helps to protect the rights of individuals who are in those long-term care settings. And we see a fair amount of exploitation, financial abuse, as well as other types of abuse. That's what we provide advocacy for, safety, and making sure that the residents are connected to the right venues. So if there is a crime that's happening or a level of abuse, that the right things are going to be put in place to ensure their safety as they move forward. In Baltimore County, we have a little shy of 250 licensed facilities that we provide advocacy for, and we have 5 main offices that do go out and visit these facilities while doing investigations and connecting individuals to the right entities for safety.
Lynn, I'm a little surprised because most of us think of long-term care facilities as safe havens.
Yes.
Is there really financial fraud going on there?
Unfortunately, there is. There's a fair share of it. Either individuals who are in the community who are trying to scam older adults, take advantage of maybe their sympathy, their need for attention, maybe even someone who's saying, let me organize your affairs or become a decision maker on your behalf. Or we might even have, unfortunately, staff who are not bringing good intentions, see that individuals need a little helping hand, and then they earn the confidence of those older adults or individuals in these long-term care settings. And before you know it, they then have become decision makers or put their names on accounts or guided them to do some level of investments that's not in their best interest.
Wow. There's a bit an uptick in that lately because of the economic conditions we're in?
It has been. As people live longer and need a variety of things to happen in their lives, they're always looking for someone who's going to have their best interests at heart. And those that have bad intentions, they plague on that. They prey on that, and they know that people are compromised, maybe with lack of transportation, lack of mobility, maybe even their eyesight or hearing is impaired, and then someone becomes their confidant, and before you know it, they've helped themselves to things that was not the intention of the older adult at all.
Bill, that seems amazing to me. Looking at the broader community that you get out into, do you see that? And if you do, why are they so successful?
Well, I think it's important to realize that many, maybe even most scammers are professionally trained. Many belong to international crime syndicates with vast resources. They do this for a living, day in and day out, and they are really good at what they do. They are masters at manipulation. They know how to deceive us and to trigger our emotions. And with a combination of those two things, they can tell us and get us to take action that we wouldn't normally do otherwise. Essentially, that's called going under the ether. And when you're under the ether, you're in a heightened emotional state, and it makes it very hard to make rational decisions and to think clearly. And scammers know how to do that. Mm-hmm. And essentially, we all have emotions, and so we are all vulnerable. I would say also, scammers know all about us. They have a lot of information, much of which is already in the public domain, and some information that they steal either directly or indirectly. So they use that information to gain our trust. I would say also, scammers these days are making great use of artificial intelligence. So they're making their messages look and sound more authentic than ever before. And finally, they rely on pressure and secrecy to execute their crimes.
That's really spooky. What specific crimes are you seeing most?
Well, as reported by the FBI, we see really, I think, investment scams near the top of the list, followed by romance scams and tech support scams. These scams are absolutely pernicious, especially the romance scams, where they make contact with their victim, and then they groom them over several months. It first starts off as they try to befriend their victim. Of course, they are impersonating someone that they are not. And then after several months, so much time has elapsed, and they've gained their trust, and perhaps they've even developed a romantic relationship, albeit virtually. Then they ask for money. They'll say that either they are sick, or they have a great investment opportunity, or they would like to come visit. And so they ask for money, and then they ask for more money. And ultimately, the victim realizes that their funds have been depleted, and that the scammer is indeed a scammer, and they never had this relationship with the person that they thought.
I'm breathless. And I read in the newspaper that people lose thousands and thousands of dollars to romance scams specifically.
Well, I'll tell you, there are just some amazing things about what's happening with scams these days. The volume of scams is just incredible. In 2024, about 860,000 people reported to the FBI that they had been defrauded in some way. They reported over $16 billion in losses, but experts believe that the actual losses are about 5 times that number, making the number over $83 billion a year. That equates to about $200 million per day being scammed out of from Americans. So the problem is just absolutely huge. And these days, too, I would also say the level of sophistication is really surprising. When I first got into all this, I thought that a scammer might make contact with someone, try to scam them right then and there, and then go on to the next victim. But many of these scams last for days and some even months. The other really surprising thing about this is that there are these huge scam compounds in Southeast Asia. And literally there are hundreds of thousands of people working there. The scam industry is the largest industry in the country of Cambodia, where it's estimated there are 200 to 300 scam compounds. And by the way, many of the people who work there are actually victims themselves, victims of human trafficking. They are lured into the country with promises of great job opportunities, and then they are basically not allowed to leave. It's just absolutely horrible.
I've read about that. Lynn, if a loved one is in a facility,
Yes.
how would a family member even know there's a problem?
That's a great point that you bring up. We, as the Ombudsman's program, are mandated to visit facilities on a monthly basis. And then we have the opportunity to meet with residents and families to share who we are and how to get connected with us. There are also statute and laws of when there is abuse happening. The facilities have to report that to the Ombudsman's program, along with regulatory and police as well. When that happens, that triggers a visit immediately, whether it's our monthly or quarterly visit, and we can connect with the residents and families to say, okay, how do we move forward with either resolving this, bringing a level of safety, getting them connected to legal services for representation, or is there more that's needed after the police has come to take an initial report to see that a crime is definitely happening? So there's a multitude of ways to make sure that residents and families are in the know when there's poor behavior or abusive things, especially financial exploitation, that's happening.
Okay, so if I have, I wish my mother were here for me to have her in a nursing home, but if she were in a nursing home, what would I see?
You would probably see maybe new bills coming in the resident's name and being mailed to them there at the facility that they had no idea an account was opened in their name. They may be getting notices of movement of activity. They may be getting bank statements and seeing that the money has been moved from one level to another entity. They also may be getting notices that their actual daily billing in the facility hasn't been paid because someone has taken over their account and rerouted their money or rerouted their funds and services. So it usually comes in the mode of services either stopping or bills coming to them they had no idea was in their name.
Okay, so if I suspect something's going on, what's the first thing I should do?
The first thing that you should do, really honestly, would be figure out how to stop the bleed, I say. Making that contact to the police department to showcase that a crime is being taken place. The next step is making contact with any financial institutions to ensure that there's no one else on your account or there isn't something that needs to be changed from your banking institution from that standpoint. And then after that, connecting with any other entities that may be stakeholders or working on behalf of that individuals to say, hey, these individuals don't represent me. I'm no longer connected to them. This is what's been happening. And sometimes it does mean that you have to connect to entities like Social Security or Medicare and Medicaid to showcase that your identity maybe has been stolen. And these are the things that will have to be done to re-engage as you, proving who you are, so to speak. So it's a large task of unraveling what the inappropriate person is doing to then put yourself back in the right space so that can be your identity and your path of what it is you want to engage in.
Bill, for those who are living independently, which is the people you'd see, I think, are there specific practices people should do to protect themselves or their loved ones and keep them safe?
That's a great question, Ted. My advice really applies, I think, to everyone, no matter where they're living. But along the lines of what you and Lynn were just discussing, I would advise that that you establish a trusted contact with your financial institution. So a trusted contact is a person that could be reached in case your bank suspects fraud or sees unusual activity in a person's account and they're unable to reach the account holder. The trusted contact might be able to further investigate and help out the account owner. That person does not have authority over the account, but it's another means for a financial institution to reach out and potentially stop a fraud before it becomes a huge problem. I have lots of other advice for everyone, no matter where you live. Basically, it boils down to being skeptical and being alert. I tell everyone to never reveal your personal information to anyone who contacts you via phone, email, or text message on an unsolicited basis. So that's my general advice. I have lots of specific advice too. I think we should all assume that our social security numbers have been stolen. And in that regard, it's really important to freeze your credit. You have to go to each of the 3 credit bureaus to freeze your credit, and that would preclude someone who has your social security number from opening a new credit card in your name or potentially taking out a loan in your name. It's really important to review your financial, your bank statements every month, or any other statements, including your Medicare summary statements. They too could be indicators of fraud if there are charges against your account for services that you're not familiar with. My other advice also is to not trust caller ID. Any scammer with the right software can make their phone number appear to be anyone else's. And because there are so many impersonation scams going on right now, you just can't trust it. So really, you shouldn't answer the phone unless that person is in your contacts. If it's important, they'll leave a phone mail message and you can follow up afterwards. It's really important too to make sure your passwords follow best practices. I think we've all heard that we need to use a combination of upper and lowercase letters and numbers and characters. But in that regard, really the most important thing to do is to make sure you have a lengthy password, 12 characters or longer.
Lynn,
I want to.
Go ahead, Lynn, please.
I was going to say, I'm so glad to hear what Bill has shared, because the Ombudsman's program does work very closely with the banking and the police department as well. We do our portion of making sure the resident is safe in the long-term care facility, but then we work very closely with law enforcement, banks, or legal services when it comes to their portion of how to restore what can be restored for the individuals in that standpoint. Our residents are victims of scams that are much closer to home. It happens right here in America. It happens right here with staff that they thought were their friends. So it's worldwide, but it's also local. And I want people, as Bill is saying, to be vigilant. And even with the limited maybe access that residents have themselves, they still have to be vigilant with the paperwork and information that they know is theirs.
You did preempt me, because I was going to ask what the Ombudsman program was doing, and you didn't answer that. This has really been an incredible and eye-opening session. I want to thank you both very much. Do you each have any final thoughts you'd like to put forth? Bill?
Well, I would say just especially as we all get older, we all have to take precautions relative to our physical health. And I would say you need to do the same thing relative to your fiscal health as well. And that means being on the lookout for warning signs and avoiding dangerous situations. And as I said earlier, with regard to potential scammers and incoming phone calls that we get, we just have to be alert and skeptical.
Lynn?
I would say exactly the same thing. I also would say to those that are in long-term care settings, secure your paperwork or your documents as best as possible, knowing that this is a very open environment. Residents do receive a locked cabinet, so if there's information they have, they should be putting that away. They should also be working with probably core administrative staff if there are banking needs that they have, or even connecting with outside entities like the Ombudsman's program when it comes to your personal documents that you know need to be moved from place to place. And that kind of cuts down on the number of individuals who have to have access to your intimate information, such as Social Security, Medicare numbers, and addresses out in the community as well.
Lynn, if people want to contact you or your department, how would they do that?
The best way to do that would be calling the Ombudsman's program either in your local jurisdiction where you reside. In Baltimore County, that number is 410-887-4200. Or you could go on to the Department of Aging's website and click on the Ombudsman's tab for Baltimore County, and that gets you to us as well. Our program is open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, and we do have a confidential voicemail if anyone needs to call after hours or before hours.
Bill, your turn. How would they reach you or your department?
Sure. Our phone number at the department is 240-773-5625. And we certainly are very interested in getting out into the community more. So if you are part of a group and would like the police department to come out and make a presentation, that would be the number to call. I'd be remiss if I didn't also give you a couple of other reference points too. If you, for anyone out there who has been victimized or is currently being victimized, it's really important to get help right away and to report the crime. The non-emergency number at the Montgomery County Police Department is 301-279-8000. I would also, you didn't pay me to say this, but I would also make a plug for the AARP Fraud Watch Network, which has vast resources on this topic. And I highly recommend that people go there, aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network. There are also great resources at identitytheft.gov as well as ic3.gov.
Okay. Bill, you took the words right out of my mouth with the Fraud Watch Network. And I would add to finish, if anybody has a question for me or a comment they want to make, you can reach me at tmeyerson@aarp.org. That's TMEYERSON@aarp.org. Thank you for joining us today. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank